Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Another day, another pod.
Another day, another pod, another Monday that you're listening.
Yes. Yeah.
Ishika and I are in a little bit of a tired.
We were talking about this right before we hit record.
Yeah.
No, we're a little tired.
But honestly, I feel like because we're doing it, it feels more raw and real and exactly what we're going to be talking about during this episode.
Yeah. So for some context, we recorded a bunch this weekend. It's been a very productive weekend, but you feel the effects. It's a lot. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. I think this is a good episode, as y'all can definitely tell by the title. We're throwing it back and doing a little therapy session.
Yeah, you guys have loved and listened to our previous therapy sessions, and they've always been one of our most listened to episodes.
Yeah.
And I really feel like it's because a lot of people can relate to what we're trying to say, and that also makes me really happy because you guys love it. So
yeah. So bear with us. I'm a little tired. But we're gonna get through it.
I mean, that's just how we're feeling. So perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we both wrote down a few things that we kind of wanted to touch on, but
talk about today.
Yeah. We've had an interesting weekend this weekend. Ishika and we've been doing a lot of recording, especially with us trying to do more video and audio. It's been a super fun and interesting project that I feel like we've really come about. So we spent all weekend doing that. And yesterday Ishika came and not really third wheel. They just felt
oh my god. So so yesterday I got to just hang out with Masa and her boyfriend, which was so fun.
I'm gonna be honest, I felt kind of bad because I wanted to have time with you too, but we didn't plan it, and I had planned it with him, so I don't want you to feel
And the funny thing is that after the day, after we had, we went, we walked around New York, we shopped a little, I just third wheeled their little errands they had to run. After Masa looked at me and she was like, this was so fun, and I don't want to cry. I feel like I'm gonna cry.
Why?
I cry so easily. It's a good thing. It's a happy cry. Okay. I cry really easily, so me crying doesn't mean much. I just think it just felt so fun, and I just feel so happy that I feel so comfortable around both of you.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
A homie. Yeah.
So homie. It literally felt like I was hanging out with two of my friends.
Yeah, and there was no intention of even really doing anything.
Yeah.
I was like, Ishika, I need to go shopping with Cable. We have some errands to run. Do you want to come? And she was like, sure.
Yeah.
So she just came along.
It was so fun. It was also really fun to get to spend time with him.
Yeah.
Get to know him as a friend.
Yeah.
Because
we've never
such an extended amount of time.
Yeah, and it's first time I want you to get to know him as well. So I think it was
it was so fun.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Masa was joking. She was like, not Cable third wheeling us.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
I just feel like I think I'm in a new stage of life recently, and being in a relationship, and I think this is something that everyone goes through at a different time in their lives, and I think I'm in that kind of right now, and I'm honestly just learning how to deal with it, and I think we're going right into the therapy session.
You're trying to learn what it means for you to be in a relationship.
Yeah, and how, and you know me, I'm such a independent person, and trying to, it's not that I am not independent now too, but it's also learning how to do things with someone else now
and share your life with and be okay with someone taking care of you.
And that's something that I struggled with for a while. I think only just recently I have begun to accept it, because for the longest time I felt like I always had to deal with everything on my own and make all decisions on my own, do everything on my own. I need to go grocery shopping on my own. No one can help me out. I need to do it on my own.
These are all my burdens to bear.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to take on these things. But being in a relationship has made me realize that if someone wants to help me, let them.
Yeah.
They're doing it for you. You're also doing stuff for them. They're doing stuff for you. It's a balance, but it's okay to let go and understand that someone wants to help you. I think that's what's part of being in a relationship, and
having companionship. Yeah, you can't deal with everything on your own.
This relationship has made me learn so much about myself.
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
Things you didn't know you needed to learn.
Yeah, and it's a crazy thing once you are in that phase. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I was joking around with them yesterday, and I was like, what things have you picked up from each other? And we were like talking about it, because I feel like you also start to share interests, and
you start to just do things together. And oh my god, I feel like I can start crying too, because I'm also tired, so like it's like the tears
coming out more.
Flow.
No, but it honestly, it's so, I don't know how to explain how natural it felt to just like hang out with y'all. And I just feel so lucky, because I feel like, as someone who's been single for a long time, I have sometimes felt like a third wheel, and I think people can relate, you know, where maybe you don't have the best experience with your partner, with your best friend's partner.
Oh yeah.
But it feels so good to like be able to be friends. I don't know.
No, like,
it's so nice.
And that's what I want. Like, I never want someone to ever feel like a third wheel when you're around him. And because I have also been in scenarios like that with like other people, and it's like, it's awkward. Like, what am I doing here?
It's so funny. We were hanging out yesterday, and I was like, this is just feels like something that could just happen more often, like as we grow up in life. Like when I'm in a relationship, I'm like, this just feels like, oh, like we're all gonna hang out. Like it just felt like so natural. It was
also
really fun.
Like I feel like we're very similar.
So
it's just like he gets it.
Yeah, that's true. It was really fun. I had a great time. And I'm so glad that you've been learning so many things about yourself, and I think
it's really been challenging me. And I think people don't really talk about that a lot, how relationships, it is a beautiful thing, but also people need to realize that it takes a lot of hard work.
It's commitment,
and it's choosing to learn and grow with someone, and be willing to change, and be willing to grow. Like, sometimes it's so easy to be, like, stubborn. Obviously, be stubborn about, like, certain things and certain values that you have, but there are certain things that, like,
you have to compromise.
Yeah, and relationships are all about compromise.
So it's kind of learning that balance.
Yeah.
And you guys are hitting a year soon, like in a week.
So crazy.
I know.
Like,
so I felt that it's enough time for you to be like, okay, it's been a year. Now it's time to, like, it's easy to reflect now. Yeah. You have the breadth of experience to kind of reflect on how you've grown, how it's changed.
Exactly. And I was also like, I think it's also just being a South Asian, and we've talked about it a lot, that like we feel like we need to, when we date, we must marry. Yeah. It's like that. It's not that I don't want to do that, but it's like
this pressure that innately comes
that you have to have it all figured out, like right when you meet someone, and we don't allow ourselves to go along with the journey of
and
just
struggle
like
sometimes and
this
understand.
Is how it, this is how it is right now. I don't need to know right now. Maybe I'll know in 2 months. Maybe I'll know in a month. So everyone has a different timeline of knowing things.
Figuring things out. Figuring out their relationship. Okay.
So that's the first thing I wanted really to talk about.
That's amazing. And I feel like you definitely, again, this is not something that just ends this journey, right? You'll still keep learning and growing. And
it scares me. I'm getting so deep on this podcast, because like I feel like also because like going into this next stage of life, you tend to spend a lot of more time with your significant other and a little bit less time with friends. Your friends. And that's natural. I think that's just like part of it. And it's something that I want, but it's also just, like, hard for me, because during college, like, me and Ishika were, like, I don't want to speak for you, but, like, we were such, like, girls. We were always with our friends. So it's, like, learning how to...
Like, rewire
and adjust. Like, we still have our girls' time. I still have his time, but it's, like...
The balance is shifting.
Yeah.
Of, like, what is more, what is less.
Yeah.
It's shifting.
And I think that's also just part of life. I, like, look at my parents and I'm like, wow, they have a whole new family. Yeah. It's, like, different from their parents. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's so crazy.
That's crazy. You think about it.
Yeah.
Like, creating a whole new family. It's crazy, man. And I think that, like, to be fair, I think it's also hard as a single person to be like, oh my god, everything's shifting around me. Like, my friends are, like... like getting into relationships, like they have less time. It's just weird. It's weird for everyone.
How do you what has that perspective been for you?
I mean, I think I'm lucky that we all do make an effort. A really sustained effort.
Like, we're doing stuff for Valentine's Day. Like, that's all. Yeah.
But I think it definitely is different. It feels different. It doesn't feel like college, where we're a lot more accessible to each other. It feels like now you have a whole other person to think about, and a lot of our good friends are in serious relationships, so it kind of feels like, okay, they have this whole other person to think about. They have a whole, a lot of, some of our friends are in long distance relationships, so it's a lot of like them having to prioritize meeting their partner, or like dealing with time differences and going back and forth to meet each other, so it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder.
It's like it's like, I think the toughest part, maybe just like not even about relationships, is just like realizing that you're on your own, like living your own life now, and it's gonna look different than your best friend. Like that's I think that's just been the scariest thing for me. Yeah. Because like we all had overlapping lives for the longest time, and that's like all we know.
I was talking to Masa yesterday about this, but one of the people that we went to college with that Masa and I know is moving across the country.
Yeah.
And I was saying to him, I was like, it feels like we're growing up.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels so adult. And he was like, no, I'm still figuring things out. I'm like, I know, but the fact that you're moving away, like, this is the first... People have moved away, but this is one of the more permanent, like, moves.
Yeah, and no one's really doing it with him either. Yeah. It's like he made that decision.
Yeah, he's just moving for, you know, for a personal goal and a work and change, a career shift and all this stuff. And it feels like, okay, this was a change. Yeah. Things look different now.
It's so crazy, and like learning that in our 20s. And I'm also like, me and Ishika are very emotional people.
We're so emotional.
I feel things very deeply.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I know.
But like, I just like feel emotions very deeply, like a lot.
I know. Yeah. I know. I've been feeling it too, but it's just sometimes I do think though that like in this stage of life, that's where companionship comes in.
Yeah.
Like sometimes isn't it nice to like
do things with someone?
Like to have someone built in to do things with.
Yeah, and I didn't realize like how like helpful it has been and like how comforting it has been. Like I'm like okay with like giving up a little bit of my like a little bit of my independence to like do things with someone else, and it's like fun doing it with someone else.
And you kind of have a built-in companion. Like you don't have to plan things all the time. Yeah, like it's just nice.
It's like, hey, like, can I come over? Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's so nice.
Yeah,
that's really
like
nice.
A different experience, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably going through that right now, whether it be like through dating or like seeing your friends like do different things. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone because I'm like thinking about like what
we're both looking at our phone because we have our notes of what we want to talk about today.
So if you see us doing that, that's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like that phase of life.
Yeah. So that's, you know, such an important thing to talk about. Something I wanted to discuss is like, I've been dealing with some negative self-talk lately.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it feels like it's coming back after a bit. I think I maybe touched on like some aspects of it in some of our other episodes recently. And we have a clip that we posted on TikTok about like how like my confidence can take a hit when you don't know what's going on. I think just like me feeling like doubting myself a little. Just like doubting myself and questioning my abilities, which is like, y'all, like, that's so yesterday. We're not doing that anymore. Like, why doubt? But it's just, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard to first have the thought, and then you have to, like, sit with it, rewire it. It's, like, so much mental work to do. So I'm kind of struggling with that right now.
No, and it's also so fair because, like, when we're in this age and you're making decisions about, like, whether it be about your career or, like, things you want to do, it's, like, there's no one really to consult. It's like you're like figuring it out on your own.
But you know what? And this is like such a big thing I would say. One thing is that I like have these tools from therapy that I didn't have before. Yeah. So like one thing my therapist made me do in sessions is write down the negative thought and then rewire it to a positive thought. Like when that thought comes up, what do I want to rewire it to? And so now I know how to do that on my own. So like I can sit down and be like, well, this is a thought that I'm thinking. And what's a true statement instead of that? It doesn't have to be something positive. It has to be something true. Because a negative thought, like me having doubt, it's usually based on anxiety and fears that aren't rational.
Yeah.
So I sit down, write a true statement, and start repeating that to myself instead.
That's a really good method.
Yeah. And so like this is something I learned in therapy. So it's like so nice that I can like take this tool, like, and try to fix it.
Yeah.
Or like try to help myself.
Yeah.
You know.
I really like that, and especially when like I also deal with anxiety, so it's like I can kind of understand where you're coming from. It's like some of these thoughts that we have, like you can't really control it.
Yeah, and negative self-talk I think is like something everyone does.
And anxiety is like based off of feeling not in control and from fear. So like being able to find methods to do that is so important.
And I think everyone deals, you know, everyone's had doubts.
And
so it's kind of rewiring that. But
yeah.
I know. I just feel like it feels like a lot of is changing, and I like feel it in my bones that this year is going to be monumental. Like it feels like there's going to be a lot of life changes this year.
Yeah. And you know what the thing is, like, women's instinct and gut
I always say that.
So right, and that's why you need to trust it. Don't doubt your gut.
We know.
It's like, I mean, it's part of our, like, human bodies. I feel like that we know what's going on. So like trusting that, and like the fact that you feel that in this year, like
I feel like it's gonna be like a big change year.
Yeah, big year for change, big year for growth, whether it's career or anything like that. But like, I think there's a lot of positivity. I mean, Ishika and I, when we were coming up in the elevator to the studio, the 111.
Oh my god, this is crazy. We should tell the story.
Yeah.
So our studio's on the 11th floor. We walked into the elevator. I click 11. And I look down on my phone, and it's 11:11.
Yeah, and Ishika's angel numbers
is 1. Like I always see one, and I'm like, Vanessa, it's 11:11. I just clicked floor 11.
Yeah,
you're just crazy.
It's so crazy how things work out. And
things are aligning.
Yeah,
I know. We just have to. I think I just have to like trust in that
and believe and like understand like that we're so capable of doing.
Now me having trust the process tattooed on myself and forgetting it. Like, not me having a
maybe you need a thigh tattoo.
Yeah, maybe I need it more visible. Not it fully be on my arm.
On your forehead.
Trust the process. I know I'm trying, man. It's just been, listen, the process has been testing me lately.
Yeah, and
like, it's testing me a little bit, but.
I know. I mean, like, one of the things that I wrote down that I really wanted to kind of talk about is, like, I'm in my era of, like, I also feel like this year is a big year just because of, like, I don't know. It just feels like it. It just like feels like I'm at a point like where this is gonna be a shift.
Okay.
But I also don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's also about like,
but what is happening?
But what is happening?
Like we have goals for this. I have goals outside of this. I have like other personal goals, but like I don't know what's going on. Like what is gonna happen? Like which one is gonna like I don't know. And like that kind of stuff is like not in your control. Like you can try really hard, put in your effort into all the things that you want to do, but like some things are gonna work, some things are not gonna work.
All you can control is the input, not the output.
Yeah.
So I think it's just and I think focusing on the output is what what can be scary, and there's no point because you can't control it. So let's focus on the input. Let's shift.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why I'm running a half marathon, because that's the only thing I can control the output of. Yeah. Too. Yeah. I know I'll finish, so yeah. Maybe I need to take that mentality into the rest of life. What? Like, I know I will get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. You know what? I think at least that's one part of adulthood is that you get more experiences under your belt to feel like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you don't have the experience to be like, no, but I've done harder things before, and I got through them.
Yeah.
And now the more hard things I go through, I'm like, wait, I can do this too.
I was at like, we had like this thing for work where like we had this like social outing thing last year, and I was like talking to some of my coworkers that are like in their 30s.
Yeah.
And one of my other coworkers asked them like, oh, like what age in your life did you just like stop caring, or like when you realize like you like felt confident in yourself, you figured out your sense of self and like that kind of stuff? And they're like, when I was 27 something just clicked in me, something clicked in my body where I was like, this is who I am. I don't care what anyone thinks.
Wow.
I'm gonna say whatever
this is whatever I feel. You know what? This is like a really this is so funny. I feel like the fact that I'm turning 25 this year, 25 is when your brain stops develop. It's fully developed. So I'm like, wait, so is this who I am now forever?
We do not.
No, I like it, but like I always thought like I'm still young.
No, I think it's just your brain is like there's no more like
I think I'm just scared.
Or like whatever it is.
Okay, hopefully that's a good thing. I'm just like, oh wait, so like I'm an adult now. It just feels like, oh shit.
I would like to peak more.
Yeah, there's still more.
No, but like I love how you always say, like, in our 20s, we feel like we need to have everything figured out. And, like, that's the social construct that we're given and fed. But, like, we don't need to. And, like, the 20s is not as glamorized. Or, like, I don't feel like it is. Maybe for some people it is.
Have you ever read that book, The Defining Decade? Have you heard about it?
You've talked about it, but I haven't never read it.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I started it. I'm just really bad at self-help books, so I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
Not because it's a bad book, because I have a hard time reading nonfiction. But anyone who's in their 20s, which if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you are. go get it. And if you like, it's so good. It talks about, it's a therapist who like uses the experience of her clients in her 20s to kind of discuss the struggles that 20s
brings to you,
like bring, and like how important their 20s are.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard it's a very popular book for especially self-help, but self-help can be a lot to digest, a lot, so I understand.
Have a really hard time. I need like a plot.
Yeah. But that's just like your preference with reading. Yeah.
But you know what? I actually have if you'll have Spotify and if you have Prime, Spotify now has audiobooks included with your membership if you have Prime. Have you noticed that?
I do. It was Audible?
Well, Spotify has like on Spotify you can listen to audiobooks now.
Really?
If you have Prime. And if they're connected, it's included in your Prime membership. So I started.
That is the best collab.
Yeah, I know. So I was driving. I was driving to our friend's place in North Jersey. It was like an hour drive. I put in a self-help book, drove for an hour.
Yeah.
And it was so much easier for me
to
listen to a self-help book.
I can read like fiction. A podcast?
Yeah, I can read fiction, but self-help, it's easier when I don't have to read it and the pace is already going for me. Because I don't love listening to audiobooks usually for fiction because my pace is so fast.
This is so good, and I will be doing that.
Do it.
Yeah.
And there's also some fiction books on there if you're down to listen. I'll send you one of my favorites that's on it.
Oh my god, game has changed.
Yeah.
Because something also I've been really wanting to change up is like when I'm commuting to work, like I just don't want to be like listening to
the same music over and over.
Yeah, like it's
there's like a little. There's definitely a place for music.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you're like, okay, I want a different.
Literally sometimes because I don't feel like listening to music, no headphones. Just I will raw dog the subway.
Yeah, that's so funny. We're in Manhattan and I forgot my headphones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from coming from Jersey. So
I guess you didn't really. But on the train
back. But I do have a book, and I probably won't take a nap, so we'll see. But I didn't have them either this time, so I was just like actually listening to the surroundings around me, and I was like, okay, this is different. But
wow.
Yeah, wow. Oh, that's what happens. It was so funny because there was this family next to me on the train coming into Manhattan, and they were like so loud. They had these little kids, and I was like, oh my god, this is so loud. I've only had my headphones. But no, if you all have Prime and if you all have Spotify, there you go. Which I feel like a lot of people have both.
Yeah, they do, and I do. So that is super great info to know.
Yeah. So for self-help, I think it's been really great. So I'm kind of maybe thinking of like doing some more audiobooks. Nonfiction.
Yeah. Okay. Love that. Something that I also really wanted to kind of tap into, which I kind of like touched on with you yesterday, but I wanted to be more financially smart.
Oh wait, me too.
About my money.
Me too. I've been really trying.
So I was reflecting on last year, and I was like just looking at my expenses and like what I was spending money on, and it's so easy to spend money, especially being in the city. And I think we have so many built-in like small expenses you don't even realize. Yeah, like you have to pay for little things and those are things that we need. So I need to leave room for that. Yeah. And I was like reflecting on how much money I was spending. I was like, I didn't need to spend that much money on that. I didn't need to spend that much money on DoorDash. I didn't need to spend much money on this. Or it's like spending money on things just to go to something just because I feel like I need it's like learning how to say no to certain things. And so I feel. But isn't it crazy now that we're turning 25 this year? It like feels like, oh, now my money matters. Yeah. Because up until now, it's been very much like la-di-da. Don't really, I'm not really thinking about the future. Yeah. I'm making enough to, we're lucky we're making enough to like enjoy it and spend it. Yeah. And be able to like have fun. Mm-hmm. So I'm just focusing on using my money to have fun. But now I'm like, I want to use my money like to buy a property in the future. Yeah. So, like, and I want a family. And I'm turning 25 and I need to save up for like all of that. What really made this turning point for me was like I was just talking to my mom about like house prices and like how they just have been getting more and more expensive every year, and she was like, honestly, you need to start thinking about this now because like you want to have a house eventually. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, then you need to like think about that kind of stuff. That's one of the main things I've been thinking about because is wanting to buy property. Many people in our generation that are not going to be able to buy homes. That is such an important statement. Yeah. Especially, I'm not going to lie, especially with the rent prices in Manhattan right now. It's so hard to be paying rent, saving up, living your expenses. doing all of that.
And also, you, like, living your life and having fun.
I really also felt it when one of my coworkers, she's like 30, and she was like, I'm never going to be able to buy a home. And I it hit me so hard because I was like, holy shit, like, she's been living in Manhattan for so many years, and because that's how she feels, because like rent is so expensive and not everyone has that financial like comfortability to like be able to do that.
Totally.
So it's like, okay, like, how do I want to spend my money so that I can be more
set myself up for success,
be more financially free in the future, be able to buy a house when I want to, and I really want to start thinking about that. So
it's also so empowering, like, to be able to be in control of your money.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's something that I've like fully learned in the past, so it's like kind of a journey of me learning it now.
Yeah. It just like, I guess it hurts me a little bit when I like have to say no to things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, always.
Like, there's like so many things, like I'll say yes to things, but I also have to pick and choose what to say no to now. And it sucks sometimes because I wish I could
everything's not an automatic yes like it used to be.
Yeah, and I wish I could be everywhere all the time. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But also it's like, I think it's just us shifting it from our long-term goals to short-term.
Yeah.
And I think maybe everyone, not everyone is on the same
page.
So sometimes you can feel like, shit, I just want that short-term fun right now. But then the long-term, you're going to think back and be like, this made sense.
Yeah. And fun can also look different. I can have fun without having to, spend all that money. And in a few years, maybe I'll feel so much better about it because, like, I'll have room to, like, do other things and, like, do more, like, lavish vacations.
Yeah,
and, like,
you know what's fun?
Yeah.
You know what's fun?
Yeah.
Not having to worrying about buying property when you're older. And actually having money to, like, invest in things and be financially free and save up for retirement. That's fun. Not having stress. I'm just saying.
I saw this TikTok also, like, kind of relating to this topic, and there was this guy, he's like in his 30s, and he was like, the biggest regret that I had in my 20s was I didn't save money. Every time I made more money, I would spend more money. And every time I would get a promotion, my level of
like my
lifestyle changed. I started spending more. And it came to a point where, like, I just had the same amount of money in my savings account and it never changed.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's the biggest regret I have because now I'm 30 and I'm like, I'm starting now. But, like, I didn't.
You could have started earlier.
Yeah.
This is so funny. Did you ever watch Superwoman?
Yeah.
She did a Q&A once, and I remember when I was really young and I watched it, and someone asked her, what would you do if you had $1 million? And she said, well, I already do, and I do nothing different. And I still remember that.
Wow.
I remember listening to it being like, oh, so that's the trick.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing also, like, when we're at this age and we're, like, finally able to make money, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
It's like, oh, I have my own money, I'm making my own money, I have money to spend.
And you want to be able to spend it.
Yeah.
Like, we also deserve that, but
it's just finding a balance. That's all it is. And, like, finding a balance and, like, finding what works for you. Because everyone's different, person to person. Yeah.
I think that's such an important discussion, though. Like, let's actually talk about...
Money is a hard topic to talk about.
It's such a hard topic, man.
It makes people uncomfortable. Yeah.
But let's start.
Yeah.
We're in our long-term goal era. Like, setting ourselves up for the future.
And value yourself more. One of the biggest things I've learned is, like, valuing yourself more when it comes to getting a raise, getting a job, getting a promotion. Write down everything that you've done, write down everything that you have accomplished, and always ask for more. Value yourself. And if you don't get it the first time, ask again. Like, get what you want and know that you deserve the amount of money you want to make because you work hard.
This is so funny. I relate everything to TV shows.
Yeah.
In The Office, there's, like, this episode where Daryl wants a raise, and he's like, he goes to Steve Carell, and Steve Carell's like, I don't even make that much. And he's like, wait, so in 13 years you've never gotten promoted? And he's like, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so, because if you don't ask for it, you're never gonna get it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing in this country is, like, things are not always given to you. Like, you have to ask for it and you have to speak up.
Especially in the workplace.
And I know the first few times, like, even for me, it was really scary. But once you break past that barrier, you realize, like, these are humans too. They also did it when they were younger. They understand.
And I'm just gonna say, especially working for a big company, it's not their money.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever think
it's the company's
they want to help you as much as you want it too. And they're good, hopefully if you have good leadership and good management, they want to advocate for you as well. Like, it's not coming out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Usually, you know?
100% agree. I definitely feel like this is a topic that we can definitely dive into on its own
even
episode.
More.
Yeah.
And maybe we should talk about it as we keep learning and what we learn. Yeah. We can, like, in a couple months or sometime later in the year, we can, like, come back to it.
Yeah. It's also, I'm scared about making this decision on myself because I was such a yes person.
Yeah.
But, like, I have to. Right? It's expensive.
You know what it is? You're saying yes, but just different things.
Yeah, just to different things. Yeah. I just picking and choosing. Yeah.
I'm, like, saying yes to my future.
Yeah. Wow. That is a really good way to put it.
Right?
Wow.
You're still saying yes, just to a different thing.
I love that. Yeah. That just brought me a lot of comfort.
Yeah. Bro, it's such a responsible decision.
Yeah.
Like, center yourself in the fact that, like, wow, like, good for you. Not, like, realizing that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the last things I want to talk about was, I feel like I'm, like, low-key in my solo era.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Do people go through this? Does everyone go through this? Where I'm just kind of, like, figuring out, like, who I want around me and, like, what that means. And, like, it's just such I think up until now, it's been very, like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like, I've always known the people that are going to be around me. I've always, like, had, like, known life is going to be this way. I'm going to have these people in my life. And the thing is, I always want the people in my life who are there to be there in my life. But, like, I just feel like I'm getting to a stage, we're getting to adulthood where it kind of feels like, okay, we're all shifting. Like we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's priorities are changing. Yeah. People are in relationships. And it's, like, kind of understanding who I want around me, what life looks like. I don't know. I know that's kind of vague, but I'm kind of dealing with understanding
what you want your life to look like
and who I want around it.
And that's so fair. And I think as we grow up, like, friendships start to look a little different.
I think my friendships are looking different.
Yeah.
And it's weird because they haven't looked different for years, and now they're changing.
I also feel very similarly. Yeah. I feel like some things have been changing, or, like, I'm also growing as a person, and, like, not everyone's, like, wanting the same things at the same time.
Totally, which is, like, literally so okay. It's not that it's wrong or right, it's just that we're different people. Yeah,
and, like, it's, like, the thing where, like, we're always going to be friends, but we might be just doing a little different things at the moment.
Yeah.
But that connection is always there.
Yeah.
There's something to say about low maintenance friendships.
Yeah, or like
evolving friendships. Yeah, and, like, the people that want to stay will stay. The people who don't want to stay won't stay.
You know what? Masa said something so good to me last night. Not on the podcast, but when we were just hanging out. She was like, friendships look different in different, like, seasons.
Yeah. You're gonna be really close to someone, say, next year, but maybe next year after that, you might be a little bit distant. Something came up, you're working on some other project, they're doing something else, but then, your paths align again. You should still,
I think, but the like, the key is having that love and, like, connection throughout. Maybe maybe how it presents looks different, but you still have that, like, love and respect and
care
for that person.
For example, like, if something super great, like, happens to someone in your life, and maybe you can't be there, like, physically, but maybe you can show your love in a different way, and that's okay.
And we're always gonna, like, be proud of each other's achievements.
It's about, like, supporting one another, and always giving love. Like, you can only do what you can do.
I keep thinking, like, how our life is gonna look like in 5 years. Like, imagine when we're turning 30 and, like,
30.
Like, in 5 years, like, it'll be the year we're turning 30. And I just feel like life is gonna look different. And I'm hoping it's gonna look even more aligned to what we want. Even more
some clarity.
Yeah. I could use some clarity. I don't know about you.
I could use some clarity.
I could use some clarity.
This was a really good little therapy session, and I hope you guys loved us just talking about, honestly, like, raw and real stuff.
Wait, actually, I was, like, I just realized this was actually, like, a therapy. Like, I feel better.
Me too. Like, just, like,
wait,
it feels
like I needed to talk about this with you.
Yeah, I agree. But thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. If you want us to do more of these, like, we're so open to, and I feel like a lot of you guys could probably relate to a lot of the things that we're going through.
Like, leave the Libra and Gemini in us. Like, we feel.
Or if you're older than us and have gone through some of the things we've gone through, like, so nice, we would love that. Honestly, it would be really fun to have, like, an older girl on the podcast and, like, get advice from her.
That is so
And I feel like any of you guys listening would love to hear some advice about, like, how to navigate your early 20s.
I love that idea. Maybe we should put like a poll on our Instagram and ask people who are a little older to like kind of give their experiences.
Like an older sister vibe.
Yeah, and if you are someone who maybe is in your older 20s, in your 30s, whatever, DM us. Let's talk.
Let's talk. Let's do that.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, but thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast episode. Definitely go check out all of our other episodes and hit that star on Spotify and give us a little 5-star.
And go watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, we're really cool there. We look cute.
We're so cool on YouTube.
I look like little grandma mode right now, but that's because we're in the therapy mode.
Yeah, go watch us on YouTube because like it's so fun to do the live like the video. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast episode, and we'll see you. I mean, you'll see us and you'll hear us next week.
Bye.